Hi everyone! The book that I am going to be telling you about today is Being Jazz. I really enjoyed this book in reading it because I learned a lot of new things about transgender people and their rights and the things that they face in their daily life. I hope that you enjoy my presentation and maybe learn something new. I'm going to tell you a lot about a few important messages that I found in this book that I hope you take away from this. And I hope you enjoy. Thank you.
The book that I'm presenting on is Being Jazz: My Life as a Transgender Teen by Jazz Jennings. Jazz Jennings is a transgender teenager from Florida. Jazz was biologically born a male, but from a young age, her and her parents always knew that she was actually meant to be a female. Jazz is an LGBTQ activist and a TV personality. She has a TV show on TLC that you may have heard of, and she is an inspiration to so many people. Jazz's book is all about her and how she grew up as a transgender. The book contains her life story and the struggles that she has faced growing up transgender. I chose this book because I knew I would enjoy it. I've watched Jazz's show on TLC before, and I was very interested in knowing more about her life and what she has gone through. The genre of this book is autobiographical. Jazz wrote the book about her own life and her life experiences. I think that the audience of the book is for those who would like to educate themselves on transgender people, or even those who are transgender themselves. This story of Jazz's life may help young children who are experiencing what she has gone through. Although the book may also be more for a bit older audience because Jazz talks about many difficult things and struggles that she has gone through, and this topic may be harder for a younger audience to understand and comprehend. The book is organized kind of as a timeline of Jazz's life. It starts from when she was born all the way through her teenage years. Being Jazz starts from when Jazz was young. Jazz explains that when her mother was pregnant with her, she always thought that she was having a girl. All of the symptoms and signs that her mom was feeling while she was pregnant were the same exact things that she felt and experienced with Jazz's older sister, Ari. So it was a shock to her when she discovered that Jazz was in fact a boy. When Jazz was born, her name was Jaren. From the young age of 2, she felt very uncomfortable in her body, and she was frustrated because she knew that she was not meant to be a boy. She was not happy, and she felt like she was a girl trapped inside of a boy's body. She liked girly toys and typical girl colors like pink. And on a side note, a cool thing that I learned from this book is that the typical gender colors used to actually be reversed. So boys would typically wear pink and girls would wear blue until the department stores promoted the color switch in order to get more shoppers, because people would just give hand-me-downs to their children, but because of the color switch, they felt obligated to go buy new clothes. I just thought this was a cool fact. But Jazz would beg her parents to allow her to wear dresses and to play with girly toys. Her parents felt very lost and confused until they took her to a doctor that diagnosed her as transgender when she was only 3 years old. Jazz did not fully start dressing as a girl until she was beginning kindergarten. At first, her parents were cautious and nervous about her transition because they did not want her to be bullied. Once Jazz felt fully transitioned, she was the happiest she could possibly be. Jazz states, "I share my story so that my message of loving yourself and knowing that it's okay to be different can be spread everywhere." Jazz wants to bring awareness to the topic of transgender, and she wants young children like her to love themselves and to understand that their feelings are valid. It is okay to be different and to express yourself. In the book, Jazz says that she is only friends with people who accept her for who she is. She talks about her first grade friend, Rebecca, and how accepting her and her family were of her. Jazz wanted to help Rebecca to understand what transgender is and what makes her different from Rebecca. Although Jazz had so many positive people in her life, bullying and people not accepting her for who she is was brought up in the book a lot. Kids would laugh at her and tease her because she would wear girly clothes to school before she fully came out. Kids at her school would spread rumors and tell everyone about how Jazz is transgender. Something like this is hard for children to understand, and not everyone is always comfortable with accepting people for who they are. Jazz's mom had a rule that she was not allowed to go over to a friend's house until her friend and their parents knew that she was transgender. And Jazz's mom had this rule in order to protect her because you never know how someone is going to react to that. One of her friends was very religious. Her friend was okay with it once she found out that Jazz was transgender, but her friend's parents were not okay with it. Jazz was not allowed to even speak to her friend anymore. Jazz is so vocal and passionate because she wants transgender children to know that they are not alone. She has gone through these things, and that is why she wants to bring awareness to this topic. As Jazz continued to get older, school got more difficult. Her classmates now knew more about what being transgender actually means. Once Jazz was entering middle school, she attended a charter school, and her mother was worried that this new school would not truly be safe for her, but the administration was super welcoming. They promised that the entire school would welcome Jazz with open arms, and they even said that Jazz would be allowed to use the girls' bathroom, which is something that her old schools never allowed. Many kids struggle with the transition to middle school in general because everyone is changing. Puberty is happening, and children tend to be very judgmental at this age. So I can't imagine how difficult this was on Jazz because all while she was struggling with her transition, she was also being judged by her classmates for being who she is. Making friends can also be very difficult at this age. When Jazz went to her new charter school, she instantly made friends. She felt comfortable and welcomed, and she enjoyed going to school. But once her classmates started to find out that she was transgender, she said that they almost instantly deserted her. She felt alone and had almost no confidence. And Jazz says that although she did feel bummed out, being transgender is such a huge part of her identity. It is who she is, and she is so proud of it. I think that this is such a huge message for transgender people and honestly everyone in general because no one should ever feel ashamed for who they are. You cannot change who you are, and that should never let you feel down. In chapter 2 of our book, we talk a little bit about the rights of LGBTQ people. There are so many struggles that these groups of people have faced that I personally never knew about. One of the biggest things that Jazz has struggled with is her rights as a transgender woman. Something that really struck out to me while reading was Jazz's right to play soccer. When she first started playing, she fell in love with the sport and she would play with her brothers out in the yard. She then joined a recreational team when she was a child, so at the time she was playing with both boys and girls. After this, she decided that she wanted to play on an all-girls soccer team. Although she had to register as a male, and because of this, she was not allowed to play in games. She could only practice and play in a few local scrimmages. Jazz was then denied a female player card, and the State Soccer Association would not allow her to play on any girls' soccer team. Jazz's parents and coaches had to fight against the state soccer organization just for her right to play soccer. They had to take the case all the way to the United States Soccer Federation in order for Jazz to be allowed to play on a female team. All because of Jazz and her parents, there is now a transgender inclusive policy in every state that requires all transgender athletes to not be denied the right to a female or male player card. I never knew that transgender athletes would face these types of things at such a young age. This taught me so much because when I was little, I was allowed to play on the team that I wanted to be on, and I was with all my friends. I never realized that somewhere out there was a little girl who could not do the same as me. Like I mentioned before, Jazz has experienced a lot of bullying in school for being who she is. In our book, we talked about bullying in Chapter 2. In 2018, Melania Trump introduced the Be Best campaign. And the Be Best campaign focuses on the goal to encourage children to be their best. This campaign teaches students the importance of social, emotional, and physical health. This can be related to the book Being Jazz because Jazz suffers from depression. Jazz says that she has dark thoughts bringing her down in life. I think that the Be Best campaign is great because it informs students that they need to take care of themselves and their mental health. Anyone can suffer from depression, and by teaching children what depression is, they are more aware of what they may suffer from and how to help it. Jazz is a big advocate for transgender rights. Because Jazz was one of the first people that we publicly know of to transition at such a young age, she's a huge inspiration to so many people. Jazz advocates for the rights of the LGBTQ community. In our current world, there are so many transgender individuals who are continuing to fight for their rights, all while their rights are still being taken away from them. In June of 2020, the Trump administration revoked transgender civil rights protection in healthcare. This means that the federal government no longer needs to perceive sex discrimination in healthcare. It is insane that transgender individuals are still facing challenges in being discriminated against today. Transgender individuals deserve their civil rights because they are regular people just like us. I hope that one day people's views of one another can just be based on who they are as a person, not based on their biological gender. To me, a big strength of this book is how easy it was to read. I was very interested in the book, which made me want to continue reading. The book was intriguing, yet educational at the same time. Another strength of this book that I find very important is the awareness that it brings to the topic. Many people, like myself, never knew very much about the struggles and hard times that people like Jazz go through. Not only did this book help me to further understand what Jazz has gone through, this book will also help those who are going through the same thing. Jazz is an inspiration to so many people, and I personally think that those who are going through the same struggles would be comforted knowing that there is someone else out there who has endured the same things. I enjoyed this book very much, and I did not notice any weaknesses in the book.
Thank you so much for listening. I really enjoyed this project because I learned so many new things about Jazz and transgender people and their rights. I highly recommend this book to you, especially if you are interested in the topic, because I promise you will learn so many new things. I hope you enjoyed my video, and I hope that you learned something new. I mentioned a lot of great messages that Jazz advocates for, and I hope that you take away from those and really think about what they mean. Thank you.